Hey guys, coming up on EdTech, we're going to be talking about the FCC wireless spectrum and how this affects higher ed. All this coming up and more on EdTech.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
Support for AVNation is brought to you by BIAM.
This is EdTech, episode 55. The FCC did what?
This is EdTech.
This is EdTech, the monthly higher ed podcast for the higher ed world. I'm your host, Bill O'Donnell. This month, I'm joined by Ernie Bailey.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Bailey. And with me, I also have Ryan Schugar, who is from Total Video Products here in New Jersey, which is a local integrator. I won't lie, they usually deal with a number of state schools and everything. Mine is not the exception. So how are you, Ryan?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. So the topic for today we're going to be talking about is the FCC recently put out, they completed the 600 megahertz wireless auction. So if you're not familiar with that, that's one of the major ranges that wireless mics usually operate on. And the FCC actually looked at it and said, okay, this following band, we're actually going to auction this off to whoever buys it out. Turns out it was most of your wireless telecom and ISP providers. And so they had it, it got set out. And right now, one of the big things that's popping up is, well, when's it going to take effect? Well, if you look by the FCC's website, the sundown date is 2020. However, that's the actual hard stop. Now, if you actually read the document and take a look at things, it gets a little bit more interesting than that. Ernie, you want to, if anything, you brought this up originally to me, and I find it kind of interesting as to how the wording goes with the auction date.
Yeah, basically it states that if any of the purchasers start using it, we as microphone users have to stop at that point in our markets. We have to be through using the wireless microphones by sometime in 2020. But if you look, T-Mobile has already released their first 600 megahertz LTE network in Cheyenne, Wyoming. They made the purchase in April, and they've already got it up and running. So
it's one of those interesting things of, and there are, as I say, there are maps. If you look at, I think it's Sound Commercial Sound Magazine or Pro Sound.
Yeah,
they do have a map of where some of the counties are, and if you look at Wyoming, it's for the most part it's the entire state of Wyoming.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they are doing it in some of the less crowded regions or lower population areas. However, that doesn't mean that they're just going to stop there.
Right.
So, some of the things you really have to look at, and in Ryan's case, this is, from the integrator perspective, what are the manufacturers doing and what are the integrators doing to kind of do this? Because I won't lie, we probably used to have a good number of these wireless mics, and as state budgets and state school budgets go, we can buy this year. What do you mean we have to get rid of it? We just bought this just now.
Right. It is posing to be a big problem. I have a good example is Bloomfield High School purchased 27 channels of wireless in the 600 megahertz band, and now they have to replace it all. So luckily, manufacturers like Schugar, AKG, Sennheiser, they're all doing the trade-in programs, like we were saying. Now, Schugar sticks out to me because they will take any manufacturer. You want to give Sennheiser, AKG, Shure, or Audio Technica, they will take that as long as it's in the 600 megahertz band, and they will give you, your credit for it.
Wow, so they really are doing the trash for cash.
Yes, right. Now, I don't know the exact details as far as that's concerned with Sennheiser and AKG and Audio Technica, but I know they will be taking back their units to trade those in as well. But yeah, it's posing a problem to a lot of customers.
Yeah, it's one of those things, and just actually, I'm kind of curious when it comes to we are starting to get really heavily into the wireless spectrum and everything. Ryan, just out of curiosity, when you guys go to do an install or anything as part of like a site survey, obviously these days a lot of times, if you're in like a high density area, like I don't know, say you guys ended up doing something at Jersey City University or NYU or Temple or something like that. You guys normally go in and just to kind of do like a it's normal for folks to have, like, say, on your smartphone, have like a little smart, a little Wi-Fi analyzer and everything, and it'll tell you what channels are out there. But when it comes to the actual wireless spectrum, do you guys like sometimes bring like a spectrum analyzer just to see if like?
Yes. Normally, actually, the manufacturers come out with us and they will conduct that survey as well. But I usually, with each manufacturer, if I'm thinking about putting Schugar in there, I will run a frequency finder. I'll see what's available there, and I will run scans in that area to see what open bands are accessible. Specifically, the ULXD is very good with that. You can connect right to it, and it will actually search your.
Yes.
It'll actually tell you what's available and what's not.
Right. Yes, and you can actively monitor it when in the production world during the air show down in Atlantic City. It's very helpful because if you're having a production and a jet flies over, you could get an interruption there. So it allows you to prevent that from happening in most cases with the advancement of that technology. It's actually very cool.
Yeah. Ernie, you were going to.
No, I was going to say we've done the same thing with ULXDs, and we set them up here. I did have an interesting experience several years ago. We were putting some in, and our guys fired them up at one end of the floor and got everything working, and found the right channels. Well, for some reason or another, they turned off the units, and then they set up the microphones at the other end of the building, and it picked the same channels. Well, this was great until they turned on both sets.
Oh, did you get the wonderful digital bats in the belfry?
Yeah.
If you're unfamiliar with that industry joke, it's this happened actually here on campus for me. Some of our folks over in the student union said, "Oh yeah, no, listen, we made everything great. We only have like 3 or 4 mics, and we had 1 receiver, so we just put them all in the same as the same band." Guys, it's not only a bad idea; it's a really bad idea.
Yeah.
Luckily, we had we've kind of standardized, at least on campus, we have the Shores, we have the SLXs, which are okay for right now, but everyone else seems to be going, no, you need to go with the ULXs and some other degrees. But it was one of those things, it got straightened out, but it was still one of those just, great idea. Not really, but good on you. So no, but the big thing is that when you're looking at the wireless spectrum and everything these days, you kind of it's almost one of those things of the 600 megahertz range is gone. I believe the 700 the 700 megahertz range is already opted off. Yeah, that one already has.
700's been gone. Yeah.
Yeah, that one had a sunset date of like this year. Right. So if you still have that stuff, congrats. More than likely, you're interfering with some EMS signals and everything. So, if you suddenly hear breaker code 12 and you're in your auditorium, you know what happened.
Yes, and you're not allowed to complain about it. So
no, because you're actually causing interference, and this is hey, you don't want the wonderful FCC violations of that. But from an integrator, Ryan, like, have you guys do you guys try to work out a discount plan with them, or is it really more of a, well, this is what the manufacturer will give, this is between you and the manufacturer, or do you guys try to help them out with it?
Well, since a lot of the customers are aware that it's going to be a little while until the 600 megahertz bands, they're kind of, some of the larger systems, they're starting to kind of replace them, but they're also kind of under the mindset like, wow, I'm actually really angry that I have to get rid of, all tens and tens of thousands of dollars of wireless equipment because of the FCC band on the 600 megahertz. But when we have a customer that's looking to make that change, we will usually help out in any way that we can from a pricing standpoint, and we will interface between the customer and the manufacturer.
Well, because it's not like it's the customer's fault on this one. It wasn't like it wasn't like Schugar or Audio Technica or any of the companies were going, hey, we've got a special deal on these. No, it was literally just look at the spectrum. This is how the FCC went about it, and frankly, it's their call. If they say we can make more money on this, and your ISPs and your telecoms are saying we'll give you more money because we want to expand our bandwidth usage for that, because in this case it's LTE.
Right.
But that's just the nature of the beast. There's no malice in it. It's just business.
Yeah, I mean, another route that I'm seeing customers starting to take is because they're tired. They don't want to see they don't want all these frequencies to be eaten up. Because I've had legitimate customers say, oh, well, if I buy these, when are these frequencies going to be?
Right.
I see a lot of people now are turning to the 2.4 gig wireless, 2.4 gig stuff. The only problem with that is a lot of the manufacturers, they can't get above a certain channel count. So it really, it's creating a bunch of little problems. It's all adding up to, larger problems for customers and the integrators and production.
So at this point, would it surprise you if, and maybe as I say, I haven't seen that much of it. I have seen the 2.4 gigahertz mics. What are the odds you're going to start ending up seeing, like, say, 5 gigahertz mics, or is that's already been in action?
I think there are some in action now. Here, I'll tell you, in production, one of the huge problems that I have with 2.4 and 5 gig stuff is that I am mixing front of house and I want to go out with my iPad. Well, if my router's in 2.4 or 5, you're either going to get the wireless mic working or my router working, and sometimes it'll interfere and cause some really wacky stuff to happen between the microphone and it's so there's got to be a lot of give and take here as far as that's concerned.
It's one of those things. It's one of those weird things that you never thought you'd come to the point of, yes, I'm a front of house sound guy, and oh, by the way, how's your 24 port wireless gateway working out? What? It's weird. It is one of those things, and believe me, folks have been saying, we've had we're having a convergence of AV and IT. That's understandable. However, in the construction commercialized world, yeah, I've totally seen that happen. In the live sound and production world and everything, there's been a little bit of adoption, but I haven't seen as much as it's been, like, say, in your regular classrooms or your established rooms.
Right.
I think it's also just because of it's part of, like, the nature of live production work and everything. It's you got to make sure it works. You got to make sure it's stable, and this and that. And is the 2.4 gigahertz world and the 5 gigahertz world ruled out? Well, if you go from Cisco's point of view, yes. However, I've dealt with a number of other production companies who are like, oh yeah, no, we do 2.4 gigahertz. And then you start looking at it, you look at the smaller bits and everything, you realize that they're only about, like, maybe 10 megahertz off from certain channels, and you're going, yeah, you guys, if we put up 4 and they started crashing. They're like, oh yeah, you're not supposed to put more than 4.
Right.
You should have told me that before.
Yeah.
It is what it is on that one. It is just kind of an interesting thing. And Ernie, are you guys? As I say, usually, like you said, you guys usually have the ULX do the programming. Have you guys had to work things out with the wireless folks as far as, hey, these are our frequencies? Is there anything? Are you guys starting to have chats of this is our spectrum?
We've been having those chats for a couple of years. Okay. It was decided a year or so ago that I'm a network engineer. So, I mean, as far as structure goes here on our campus, so I answer to the director of network engineering. So we have a good relationship with the network engineering folks, and we talk about, who's using what frequencies and where can we put this and where can we not. We're using mics in the 1.9 gigahertz range, or 1920 to 1930 megahertz is what they're calling it. But, and that's outside of the wireless network spectrum. So we've got our own little slot there we can work in. We do get into the issues of, you can only have so many within a certain range, but I haven't run into that issue yet. We've had enough separation. If we're needing to put in, a large number of microphones, but, generally, for a lecture hall, the way we're doing them now, 4 mics is plenty. 4 wireless mics is plenty, especially since we're putting wired mics for students out throughout the rooms. I don't need to put question mics out for any events now. We used to put, in some of our bigger lecture halls, we put out 4 or 6 wireless mics on stands for students or audience participants to go ask questions. Well, now they don't have to stand up. They just hit a button in front of them. And
see, that's actually great. One of the other things in terms of mics, and we've been kind of piloting it out here, and my associate Tim down at Rutgers has been playing around with this thing. It's Schugar's Microflex Advanced mic array. And and Ernie, have you seen this thing?
I've got my first one out to bid right now.
Okay.
But I'm using the same XW series wireless mics. So hopefully, we're gonna. And it's great. With biamp, you don't need anything between the microphone.
Right.
Yeah, it's and folks, if you haven't seen this, some of Schugar's Microflex Advanced series, the mic array that we're talking about, it essentially looks like a 2x2 ceiling tile with like a little perforated grid. So if you were to look up, you'd look and think that's automatically a duct return of some sort, or just a ceiling grill. But what it is it has, I think, about 96 or it has a ridiculous amount of microphone elements in it, but they're all beam steering.
Yes.
And then the other part that's actually pretty impressive is the fact that it just takes one Dante connection to do the whole thing, which it's one of those. Here, you want to just expand out and have the gallery the gallery mics or the notes from the peanut gallery. Here you go, plug it in, add it into your Dante expansion bus, and there you go.
Yeah.
And that's the other part of things that at least from the mic end of things is actually becoming pretty nice, is that a lot of mic receivers or microphone units themselves actually now have a Dante port, which it kind of makes we're getting towards the end of and Ryan, you could probably know this, and Ernie, you probably know this as well, is that when you had they weren't even clear ones, they were getting our APs, and you had your AP10s, and you had your G-Link expansion bus and everything, which was proprietary. And there's nothing wrong with that so much as, say you want to mix and match or you have other things to add in. Well, unless you want to buy another Gettner unit or another, then transferred from, there was Gettner APs, there were Zaps, there were the Convergence Pro. I think they're up to Convergence Pros now and everything.
Yeah.
They're all very good, well-built processors and everything, but it's kind of hard when you want to just mix and match or at least have some sort of like actual standardization. So that was just one of those things of like, hey, here, we can just do this with Dante and just be done with it.
Yeah. We've gone to almost all Dante in our system designs for over a year now, and it's wonderful. And we're seeing ways that, we're needing to add a couple of mics in a small classroom across the hall from a lecture hall that's got Biant Sierra Server IO that's overloaded with DSP, and we're not touching, what we've got in it. So we're just going to, add a couple of Dante mics, throw them over there, and route them back to the classroom, as opposed to buying a separate DSP.
Oh yeah, no. In our case, just recently we had it where we had rebuilt an auditorium, and it was one of those things of, I'm not going to lie, on our campus we only have probably about 3 people to cover a span of classrooms of about 200 or so. So for them to suddenly say, hey, we're going to have a panel discussion, okay, and we want someone to monitor it, okay, and it was like, yeah, we're going to have 6 to 8 microphones. Okay, so what we ended up doing was just really we just had a snake, and thankfully we had one of the we didn't go the Dante route. What it was is we did go a Dante route. We ended up having a expansion box that was it had 6 mics. It went to a Dante out, and then from there we have BSS for our campus, and so the room already had a Dante to Blue Link, and it just worked into their expansion box. I know, which is really weird because we just talked about, oh yeah, it's great having non-proprietary, and we're routing it right into BSS as proprietary. But it makes it's one of those things where it's just making life easier, because after that we just routed it into an auto mixing gate, and everyone was able oh yeah, it worked great. Were you guys in the back? Sure we were. But that's the beauty of having kind of open standards like that.
Absolutely. I mean, Dante, I just put a system together with 7 of the MXA 910s ceiling arrays, and then a bunch of the ULXD, and it's all networked over Dante. It's coming from the production audio world. It's a nice change to see these giant 128 channel systems all running into a switch. It's all networked. And it's got, for me, most of it's all great, except, there's a couple of the downfalls with the networked audio, in my opinion, with being able to easily swap things out. For example, a power amp that went bad down at the casino in Lang City, they wanted to swap it out, but they couldn't because it needed to be addressed. The IP had to be addressed. It needed to be brought into the QSYS software and set up like that. So from that aspect, it's kind of there's still a little wonkiness to it, I guess you could say, but I wouldn't go back to.
Let's put it this way: would you rather it be CobraNet, where the thing almost needs its own switch? And that's the other thing, folks. If you don't know about CobraNet, by all means, go ahead and look it up. Dante at least is standardized where that can be across your regular network switch, and it can go against the rest of the traffic without a huge deal. CobraNet actually would cause so much disruption on the switch that there's at least a couple of conference centers that still have it, and they actually have a totally separate physical network just for it, because it would burn up a switch.
That is correct. Now I was a full-time audio front of house production at Revel Casino, and our entire system was all BSS throughout the property. It was all over CobraNet. We had a really, really beefy AV-IT, a lot of AV-IT equipment. We had our own network with redundancies. And another example of that is the Pennsylvania Convention Center. They are running all CobraNet with VIAMP over 2.4 million square feet. And it's a lot. It's a lot to maintain the network and the audio system. With Cobra. Dante is a great technology for all.
What we've seen so far is very stable.
Yes, yeah, it is. Yes.
Much more so than CobraNet or anything else we've tried in the past. Once you get it established, and the first time or two, it's a little bit tricky getting everything working just right. But once it starts working, it doesn't stop.
That's true, right? And a lot of my consoles now are all mostly use the Dante protocol. That or they pass over AES. You don't really see Yamaha kind of got away from they still do CobraNet, but you can get Yamaha Dante or CobraNet. But I mean, a lot of the Midas, Avid, and I had a Yamaha the other day that was Dante. Yeah, and it was very stable.
Oh yeah, no. If anything, Crown and I'm trying to think about this. Crown, BSS. I think even there's BSS, DBX, a couple other ones. They all have looked and said, "Oh yeah, no, we just have to go to Audinate standards." Done. There you go.
Yeah. And having a separate standards group out there that is agnostic of the other manufacturers is great. Just somebody, who sets the standards, everyone builds to it, makes it a whole lot easier than, one company, one manufacturer owning it, then licensing it out.
That's never happened before. Not at all.
Not in this business.
No, not in the AV world. It's never happened.
Well, the way they're doing it now is just companies are buying each other to get it. So.
That is true. I think in the recent, as I say, you know, there's been the recent acquisition, and everyone's still kind of watching to see how it goes. Was like, you know, Samsung's acquisition of Harman.
So
yeah, which, you know, everyone's kind of looking, going, oh, what are they going to keep? Well, Samsung is a rather large conglomerate company. My money with them and their technology. If you haven't seen some of it, and like some of the Samsung phones already, they're already packaging in AKG earbuds, and more than likely,
right?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I'm an Apple guy, so.
Don't worry. They'll be, as I say, you'll be having the Beats earbuds packaged in with yours as well. But no, you're right. Ernie's right in that, like, you know, sometimes companies just look and go and say, is it easier to reverse engineer the stuff ourselves, or do we go and just buy the company out for their stuff outright? Right. You know, look at Cisco. They looked and said, we could make a better codec. Oh, look, Tandberg's, we'll just offer Tandberg a boatload of money because they have, ironically, Tandberg bought Kodiak, and Kodiak stuff like worked with everybody.
Yeah.
You know, it's exactly that. It's, you know, one company's got the good stuff, and everyone looks and goes and says, I got to get that. And by that, I mean, I got to get you.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But all in all, yes, just kind of wrapping things up. Summer's coming to a close with all the higher ed folks. I know I'm still hopping and jumping with some classroom stuff. For us, classes start September 6th. Ernie, how about yourself?
We're in our second week of classes.
Oh, see, it's, as I say, they've got the head start. They're already cranking the kids through, and they already got the syllabi out, and I'm sure everyone's already kind of processing through the wonderful process of ad drop.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So it is what it is. Ernie, where can the folks find you online?
You can usually find me on LinkedIn.
Okay, fair enough. Ryan, can folks find you on LinkedIn, Twitter?
Yes, absolutely. You can find me on LinkedIn, and you can find my company, Total Video Products, at totalvideoproducts.com.
Oh, there we go. And I'm Bill O'Donnell. You can find me on LinkedIn as well as Twitter as well. Just like I said, if you have any questions or comments, by all means, we are more than willing to take them on. Thanks, guys, and I'll see you all next month.